Shabbat Shalom, my friends, and welcome back to our weekly Torah conversations. Each week we welcome newcomers. So let me remind everybody that I'd love to hear from you. Comments, suggestions, requests, criticisms. A special welcome today to Rick in Los Angeles. We have 2,500 years of Jewish tradition to discuss, Rick, and your voice is very important to us. So keep coming and joining us. Our Sedra is Beshalach, Exodus chapter 13, verse 17 and following. The actual Exodus is underway as the Israelites move out of Goshen toward the Sinai desert and the unknown world that stretches beyond. Young and old, slaves no more in the flesh, but in so many ways, still slaves in the spirit. Most of the escapees are descendants of Jacob and the 12 tribes. Most, but not all. There is also that undefined group known as the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude. Were they from, other enslaved communities? We don't know. Were they Egyptians who just wanted to break free of Egypt? We don't know. We'll never know. But from the very beginning, the group leaving Egypt was more than a genetically linked assembly of brothers, cousins, sisters, aunts. The 12 tribes were going to become a single people in that desert. In that desert, the Jewish people was born. And from day one, that people was diverse. And so we have ever been. Slaves on the move. Pharaoh has yet one last change of heart. One last time, he's going to try to drag them back to slavery. He sends out his armies. God deploys angelic hosts. The newly emancipated whine and cry in fear and in despair. Moses holds out his rod, and the Red Sea, the Reed Sea, divides, providing safe passage for our ancestors. As the Egyptians' horses and riders rush into the breach, the waters flood back over them. The gates of slavery have been slammed shut. And the fearful wonder of freedom now lies ahead. One of the absolutely oldest sections of the Torah is found in Exodus chapter 15. The Hebrew archaic, really old. The message triumphant. Now, for the first time ever in all the years, here's a homework assignment. Read chapter 15 of the book of Exodus aloud. Read it several times over so that you can sample the hope, the joy, the relief, the gratitude. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Who is like you among all the gods worshipped by human beings? What language? You are majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders. And then, of course, Miriam and the women took up their timbrels, drums, tambourines, whatever they were, and in dance and in song, they gave praise to God. Yes, they were allowing women to sing in the presence of men. That's another story. The people grumble and complain about the lack of food and water, and then a desert tribe, Amalek, falls upon them like cowardly jackals, forever earning the label of being the classical enemies of the Jews. Cursed be Amalek. Amalek is the tribe, metaphorically, out of which all of the Hamans of the world will be descended. Despair, exaltation, petty ingratitude, sudden fear, and then this first victory in a war that will never end, the battle against Amalek. Nechama Leibowitz analyzes an early and persistent problem in our text. Why did the Israelites take the route that they did, no matter how big the group was that left Egypt and the actual number will never escape the realm of speculation. It could not be possible that it would take 40 years to cross the Sinai Peninsula and to reach the borders of Canaan. 4 days, 6 days, 40 years not. Let me put one item of speculation to rest now and forever. Just because the Israelis, Uri, Ehud, and Shamir developed ways, it wasn't because they felt that God was pretty clueless about giving directions. So now you know, that's not why Ways was developed by Israelis. The rabbis insist that God actually had reasons, but they certainly never came to a consensus as to what those reasons were. Rashi suggests that the shortest route was precisely the one that God did not want them to take. If they took the short route, they would quickly grasp how easy it would be to turn their backs on freedom and to scurry back to the security of slavery. If they had taken the shortest route the moment Amalek attacked, they would have turned tail and run. Ibn Ezra believes that when things got tough, people had a tendency to run. That's just the way that most of us perhaps still are. Sforno agrees, but adds one additional feature. The whole point of the Exodus wasn't just to get out of Egypt. The whole point wasn't just to get to the Promised Land. The people needed to move from Egypt so as to reach Mount Sinai. Without Torah, our freedom wasn't worth much. The Exodus didn't come about just so that another people could settle on a particular piece of land in a particular place. Passover itself, the celebration of Sedra, the reading of the Haggadah, they all require of us to reach Sinai. And getting to Sinai wasn't enough. Getting the Torah wasn't enough. It wasn't, Dayenu. 12 tribes in that mixed multitude had to be shaped into a single people guided by a shared set of norms devoted to the same set of sacred principles. And not even a few days in front of the mountain of revelation was going to achieve all of that. My friends, earthquakes and storm clouds and echoing voices aren't sustainable. The poison of slavery had seeped into our ancestors' souls. And the only antidote was to allow that entire generation to die out. There is no shortcut to true freedom. There is no shortcut to learning how to take responsibility for our own lives. There is no shortcut to pushing back and away from the past so that the present and the future would have the space to take root and to flourish. The people had to experience what freedom was all about. Freedom isn't easy. You want that sea to split, God might have said, then stop crying out to me. Only you can make the sea split when you determine that that is what you want to have happen. And by the way, freedom isn't what you might have imagined. Throwing away your slavish loyalty to Pharaoh, that's not enough. God is going to offer you a system of laws and requirements, standards and values. You first stopped being slaves to Pharaoh. But that probably was the easiest step of all. Now you need to explore your own souls and to see if what you truly, freely want to accept are the Torah and mitzvot and the God who gave them. During the wandering in the desert, God's power will be on full display, but miracles alone will never suffice to bring the people to choose the pathway of Torah. The old ways must be allowed the time to wither and to die. New choices will have to be made. It'll take not 5 days, 40 years, maybe 400 years, maybe 2,000 years, and maybe even more. If the Israelites had known that their journey toward freedom would literally last their lifetimes, who knows if they would have ever started on that journey. But think about this. With each step that they took, and even with every misstep, they were changing the course of the history of the Western world. There is so much slavery around us. Slavery of the spirit and slavery of the flesh. There is so much poison in the soul of our nation. The cry for freedom is being heard, yet most of us don't really understand how long the road to freedom always is. Our Sedra holds out a promise to us that the future, it's ours to shape. But the Sedra also warns us we must be willing to pay the price to be free. Okay, that's it. Have a wonderful Shabbat. But don't forget, what is your homework assignment? For the very first time, homework assignment, read chapter 15 of the book of Exodus out loud a couple of times. And please remember that after you're done reading, hit share so that others can join us in this wonderful weekly journey. Shabbat Shalom. Great weekend.